Hello, everyone. How are you all? So nice to see all of you. Okay, so you can't see me. You can't see who's all on here. This is a fabulous webinar. So happy to see all of you. Oh my goodness. I love seeing all the names that are popping up. So good. So good. All right. So tell me, this is where I love the chat. So my name is Dara Thomason. I am the life coach for quilters. I help quilters lose weight and create the kind of life that they really want to have. It's really fun. And so I'm going to be talking to you about how I can help you with that later. But right now, what I want to do is I want to be really interactive in this training. You can see it. We're going to talk about the 3 steps to building the life that you really want. So I see a lot of you here are already my clients, which I love. And I really just welcome all of you here. I really miss my quilt teaching and being with my quilty peeps. And so I love that the Zoom is very, we can just let it be that way. Like this is like a guild meeting. This is like a class. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I love you all. I'm so glad you're here. So in the chat box, I want you to tell me, first of all, I want you to tell me one thing about your life that you love already. Okay, so what's one thing about your life that you love? I'll just start. One thing I love is that I have fun necklaces and I have pretty hair. Like I never had pretty hair before. I never really spent time on my hair. And now I feel like I have really pretty hair. Today I put hot curlers in it and it didn't curl as much, but that's okay. But I have like fun necklaces. And I think it's fun that I only have like 5 or 6, but it's like fun that I do that. Okay. So we have, I love being a quilter. And it's super fun. I love where I live. The views are awesome. What else do you love? I love telling people that I'm a quilter and they look at me like, you don't look like the typical quilter. I'm like, there are no typical quilters. I love my grandkids. What else do you love? All right, keep sharing. I love to hear it. Because when our brain is looking for things that we love, what happens? What do you think happens when we're looking for evidence that we actually have a lot of good things already? Oh, I love being a runner. Oh, that's funny. I love being a runner. When I'm a runner, we stop dwelling on the things we don't like. Absolutely. Yes. So there is this concept. It's called confirmation bias. And I see that Jeannie's on here. And today when I was coaching her, we talked about this concept. And what happens with confirmation bias, the simplest example, and I think you can all relate to this, is if I drew your attention to something, like if we were talking and I'd say, oh, did you notice how many yellow cars there are? There's so many yellow cars. And you're like, no, I haven't. But then what's going to happen in the next day or 2 when you're driving around? Yeah, exactly. You're going to start to notice all the yellow cars. And you're like, oh my goodness, she was right. There's so many yellow cars. Because now we're focused and we're looking for that. Oh, I love it. So Lori talks, she said she notices redheads because she has one. And it's funny because I have 4 redheaded sons. And my oldest son has the most red hair of all of them. And he went to stay with his grandparents a few summers ago. And he noticed where he was visiting them, there was hardly any redheads, because that's what he's looking for. So a confirmation bias is our brain is looking for evidence of something. And so when we think about our life, so I have this webinar that I'm going to be teaching you. It's like 3 steps to the life that you want. how much of your life right now do you even recognize is awesome and amazing? Right? So often, how often is our focus on things that we focus on the things that are not awesome? Okay. So, anybody have any questions about that so far? Okay. So, today's webinar, I really want to address these 3 steps to getting the life that you want. But before we do that, I want you to just dream with me. What is the life that you want? Do you even know the life that you want? Do you have it pictured? So, if I was to say to you, let's plan your perfect day, do you have it all planned out? Do you know what that would even look like? So, what time would you wake up? Would you eat first thing? Are you not really hungry so you wouldn't eat? Like, would you exercise? Would you do some reading? Would you do some stretching? Would you go out to nature? Would you connect with somebody? Would you have quiet time? Would you like be on your phone? Like, what is so then? And then what would the morning look like? Would you be by yourself? Would you connect with other people? Would it involve fabric? Would it involve shopping? Would it involve creating? What would lunch look like? What would your afternoon be? Would you be spending it with other people? Like, what would you be learning something new? Would you just be practicing something you already have? Would you be finishing projects? Would you be starting new projects? What does that day look like? What about dinner time? What about the evening? How does that day play out? Who would you see? What would you do? And as I'm asking this, what is coming up for you? What thoughts are you having? Now, I want you to think about this is your ideal day, and maybe it's a little bit hard. Maybe it's a little bit hard to like think of your ideal perfect day. And then I want you to think about what does your actual day look like? So if you were to break down, this is like what my day typically looks like to my ideal day, how many of your ideal day and your typical day, how many of those line up? So I was just coaching a client. She has a long arm business, and we were talking about her business. And I said, okay, well, like, how do you feel about your business? Where are you at? All of that. And the thing that I was able to help her see is that she has created her business. And all of you, wherever you are in your day, whatever your day looks like, you have created it. So the kind of house you live in, the amount of money you have in your bank, how much stash you have, how clean your house is, how organized, all of that, that is all what you created. Nobody did that for you. I mean, you could argue because my house I live in, this is the house my husband decided to buy, but I decided that I would buy in, that I would also buy this house because I liked his reasons and I liked my reasons for liking his reasons. So I'm not saying that everything has to be perfect and ideal because that is not reality. But however I decide to live in this house is totally my decision and my choice. Does that make sense? It's so fun. There's new people popping on all the time. I love it. Welcome, welcome. So fun to see all of you. Love it. Okay, so to catch you up, because we have some new people who just popped on, so happy to have you. So my name is Dara Thomason. I am the life coach for quilters. I help quilters lose weight and create the life that they want. And today I'm going to teach you 3 steps to having the life that you want. And so I've just invited you to think about your perfect day and think about your current day and compare them and see how much of your current life is already in alignment with your ideal life that you really want. And I'm inviting you to think about, we are always creating our life. So let's be actual creators of it. Okay. So the first thing I want to teach you in this webinar is this idea of our self-esteem. So how do we have a healthy self-esteem? First of all, so our self-esteem is actually our thoughts about ourselves. So how would you describe yourself? What would you say are your qualities? You don't have to put them in the chat. That's fine. But when you think about it, what are the words, are the expressions that you would use to describe yourself? So generous, kind, thoughtful. Some people might think they're lazy. Some people might think they're boring. Like, what are the words that come to your mind that would describe yourself? So this collection of thoughts is actually our self-esteem. Isn't that interesting? It's not what other people say about us. It's not what, it's written in our report card, because what other people say are their thoughts. And it's not until what we have thoughts about them that makes a difference. Okay. So your self-esteem is your collections of thought about yourself. Have you ever thought of self-esteem that way? So my background, I was a elementary school teacher for almost 10 years. And then I have 5 children of my own. So after my 3rd child was born, I was like, okay, I'm not going back to the classroom. And I had 2 more children. And when my youngest turned 2, I started teaching quilting professionally. And I have several quilting books that by C&T Publishing. And just last year, I started to be training for a life coach school and helping quilters with their long arm businesses, which then morphed into them asking me to help them with weight loss. And I started using the tools that I use for weight loss. And so now I'm totally into the weight loss mode. But I'm telling you, weight loss is just the side effect of all the work that I do with the tools. It's all the collection of thoughts that we have about ourselves. But so many people are unconscious about the thoughts that they have about themselves. And so many of us are people pleasers and perfectionists. And so with that combination, and then there's the procrastination, the triple P that we do talk about, when you have this way of thinking, we don't have a level of consciousness, or we don't give ourselves enough credit for our own thoughts. And so we don't take what we think as important as what other people think of us. So we're constantly needing other people's approval for us to feel any way about ourselves. But the problem is other people's approval isn't long lasting. And so we're constantly on a treadmill of trying to get that approval. So that's why we're tired and exhausted, and we turn to food and social media and all these other quick false pleasures to try to help us feel better. But we just keep ourselves spiraling down and down and down because we haven't actually figured out that what we think of ourselves is the most important thing. And because so much of our life is unconscious, we aren't able to really give ourselves the support that we need. So this is the situation that a lot of us are finding ourselves in. So who can relate to what I said? So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd like you to just share, if you feel comfortable, on the chat, where you fall on the people-pleasing scale. So doing things to have other people think better about you than what you think about yourself. 1 being you never worry about pleasing other people, and 10 being you always put other people's needs in front of yours. So if you don't mind, I would love to see, oh, here we go. A 7, a 9, a 6 to 7, now working my way lower on the scale. Yeah. So why do you think, excuse me, why do you think we might have the tendency to put other people's needs in front of ours? Why do you think that happens? It's going down. Okay. We're taught to do so, to be selfless. Okay. We care about others more than ourselves. Mm, we are raised that way. Yeah. So, one of the questions I really love to ask looking for approval, right? But that's the funny thing is, we, and I identify myself, I say that I was been a hustler since I was 5 years old. I was the third of six children, and I wanted my parents' approval. I wanted other people's approval so badly because I never really learned how to get my own approval. I never really learned that what I thought of me was the most important. So that's one concept. And then going to another concept here is this idea of selflessness and selfishness. So, just speaking from my own experience, so I have five children, and my children are 8 to 18. If I was completely selfless, like I never thought of myself, how well do you think I would take care of my kids? So if I never took care of myself, if I never exercised, or if I never ate healthy food, if I never had proper rest, if I never had like clean clothes for myself, what kind of person would I be? What kind of mom would I be? Because there is this very interesting differentiation between being selfless and being selfish. So to be selfless is like giving and loving, but in order to be my best version of myself, I need to make sure that I have good mental health, that I have good physical health, that I have good hygiene and all of that. Because if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm actually not able to take care of other people. It's such a different way of thinking. And especially those who are born and raised in like predominantly Christian homes, I would take a guess because that's where I was raised, and I am actually raising my children in a Christian home. Um, but so that idea of being selfless, but I've learned more and more, and working with the women that I work with, um, the the more we can love ourselves and take care of ourselves, the more we can love and take care of others, because we have such a solid and firm foundation in who we are. I like this comment. I want people to like me, but I don't want to draw attention to myself. So that's an interesting comment, because when we take care of others because we want to, we don't need attention to ourselves. And the attention, it's like Teflon, right? It just kind of, when for example, if a lot of us, I'm sure, make charity quilts, and I don't want that attention to be on me. And in fact, I have been doing these charity quilts for Canadian police officers' families as comfort. And it's actually kind of uncomfortable for me because I don't do it for any accolades for myself. And it's kind of a hard balance, because I need people to help me with the project, but I don't really like having the attention on me. So because the joy that I got is from that's the kind of person that I am, is I just make these quilts for officers, families, right? So it's really finding that balance, Marlene, and you're going to find that the more you do this work. Okay. So I really wanted to kind of dive deep a little bit into what's going on for a lot of us, because when we think about our self-esteem and we know that it's our thoughts about ourselves, then if we are spending a lot of time trying to get approval from other people, we're not going to be really focusing on the needs that we have and helping ourselves feel good about who we are for ourselves. Like, we always need other people to tell us, then we're never going to get it for ourselves. So our self-esteem is dependent on other people, which, as we know, is not a long-lasting source. It's not that delayed gratification. It's not that we're going to take care of ourselves. So one of the things that I do for my clients with the tools that I teach is they learn how to get their own back. They learn that people can say any words they want, but when they learn how to interpret that in their own way, they can feel confident moving forward. I don't need other people to say certain things for me to feel like I can move forward. So it's the same thing with the number on the scale. My body doesn't have to weigh a certain amount for me to feel like I am a successful human being. I have a client that said that her day depends if she's happy or not, depending on what the number on the scale says. So unless the scale, so an external circumstance, is what she decides is appropriate or not, that will determine if she can feel good about herself. So how often is that showing up for you? So I just really wanted to just kind of dive into that for you, just to kind of set the stage for what I want to teach you. So again, your self-esteem, what is the collections of thoughts that you have about yourself? So I would like you to, in the chat, I would like you to write at least one thing that you like about yourself. So what would be in your thought box here that you like about yourself? I can't wait to read them. So what's one thing you like about yourself? Tell me. It shouldn't be hard. So my eyes, I like being tall. I like that you're friendly. I think I'm witty and make people laugh. Okay. So I did it. I made it. I assigned my clients in my group and in my one-on-one to say 10 things that they like about themselves. And for some of them, it was really, really hard. And one of my clients, I made her do 20, and she had to like talk about straight teeth. Like, she's like, I like that my teeth are straight, but that's okay, right? This is not something, oh, creativity. Yeah. So I think we need a few more people sharing. I know it's hard. Don't need to be modest. All right. It's okay. If you're not comfortable, that's all right. We got this. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do, so when we say 3 steps to the life that you really want, we need to increase the thoughts that we have about ourselves. And so in order to do this, we need to increase our self-confidence. Because our self-confidence are going along with our self-esteem. It's the thoughts that we have about ourselves in the way that we have them. So when we first started quilting, I'm just going to give that as an example. It was like, I remember the first quilt I made, and I was, oh my goodness. Anyways, it was before the internet. And then the second quilt I made, I didn't really know what I was doing. And my cousin's mother-in-law had a long arm. And my mom said, oh, I'm going to go down there and I can take that quilt to her and she can quilt it for you. I had no idea. I had no idea that you had to have the backing larger than the top. I had no clue what was going on. And I remember feeling so scared and nervous. I was so not confident at all. I didn't trust myself. I felt really uncomfortable. And so these are the 3 steps to self-confidence. The first step is learning to trust yourself. Okay. So I didn't trust in my abilities as a quilter. I didn't trust that I knew what was going on. I didn't trust really like that I could I didn't trust in my skills, so I was worried that they were going to criticize me. I just didn't have a lot of trust in myself and in the process. Okay? So I want you to think about, where do you fall? You can just keep this to yourselves, in your own self-confidence. Now, let's go to, like, I'm going to put some parameters on that. So if I said to you all, hey, I want you all to send me a picture of your current project and send it to me right now, and there's a prize. How confident would you all be in going on your phone and taking a picture and emailing it to me? Out of a scale to 1 to 10, this is where you can totally put it in here. How confident do you feel that you could do that? Like, totally, right? Like, oh yeah, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. All of you, you're like, oh, I can totally do that. And if I was like, hey, can you go to the store and buy milk or buy a loaf of bread or whatever and bring it home? You're like, oh yeah, I can do that in my sleep. But if I said to you, hey, could you not eat any sugar or flour for a year? How confident do you feel? You can be honest here. 0. Yeah, I would even say 0, because I'm like, what would be the point? 5 years married. You're so funny. Right. So, because the other part of that is like, you're kind of like, well, what's the point of not having any sugar or flour for a whole year? But, okay, I'm going to change the parameters. If I said to you, or say if your doctor came to you and said, you know what, you have this very rare disease, and if you eat any sugar or flour, your body will go into destruction mode and you will die within a week. How confident would you feel? Like, you're like, oh yeah, I would never do that. I have too many grandkids. I have too much to live for. And there's like there's like tons more food I can eat, because you have a motivation for it. Okay. See the difference? So to build our self-confidence, we need to learn how to trust ourselves. So currently in my one-on-one group, I'm teaching a planning system that's working really well. And it's super interesting because I've been working with this planning system, and my trust in myself is just, it just gets better and better, because I'm learning a skill of saying, I'm going to do this one task in 10 minutes, and I'm getting better at it. So even I have this example. Yesterday, I broke down a bunch of tasks, and I even gave myself 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I was doing really well. And then I broke down another task and I didn't give myself enough time. And so instead of beating myself up and saying, what's wrong with you, Dara? Like, you should have been able to do that in 45 minutes, but it took you an hour and a half. I was like, oh, so where did I go wrong? Why did I expect that? So then I could break it down and say, oh, for when I'm transferring an email from a Word doc to MailChimp, it actually takes me 7 minutes per email rather than 3, which I thought it was. Oh, so now I'm going to still continue to have some trust with myself, even though I didn't succeed in what I wanted to do. But because I broke it down and thought, okay, well, let's take a look at why I wasn't successful. Then I was able to, I still can build trust with myself. Just like, oh, I'm just going to get good information. Okay. So you see the difference in how we can build trust. So now the second part is number 2, to build self-confidence. You have to trust yourself, and then you can feel any emotion. How often do we avoid doing something because we're worried about a negative emotion? Like, be honest. Like, I don't want to have that difficult conversation with someone. I don't want to bring that up with my husband. I don't want to go to the guild meeting because of what she might think. I don't want to post my picture, like my block or something, because I don't want someone to have criticism. So how often are we, or we don't go to a party, or we don't go to our high school reunion, or we don't do something because we're worried that someone will judge us because of our body or whatever it is, and because we want to avoid that negative emotion. Okay, so that is something. And what I actually tell myself this every day: the currency for success is the more willing I am to feel vulnerable and to feel a negative emotion, the more success I'm going to have, guaranteed. So when we set goals, it's like you set a goal and you say, okay, how much do I want it? And then you can gauge it by how willing am I to feel uncomfortable. So even the ladies in my one-on-one group, I have a lot of worksheets. And my people, my one-on-one group, like my one-on-one clients, I just sent them workbooks as Christmas presents. They're getting in the mail today. And so there's this like level of commitment. So if you don't do the full work, you're just not going to have the same success in that same timeline. But if you really want to have like a great amount of success, then you're just willing to like, okay, I'm just going to put it on my calendar. I'm going to have 1 hour of Dara work time rather than like, so I'm going to just swap out 1 hour of scrolling on Facebook. So you're doing some trade-offs because you're willing to feel uncomfortable, because it's a little bit harder to work on the worksheets than it is to scroll through Facebook. Any comments about that? So that's the second step. Now, the third step of creating the life that you really want by building your self-esteem, by really thinking about your own confidence, like the way you think about yourself, is to retell, that's an E-L-L, the story about yourself. Okay, so if I was to ask you about your relationship with food, how confident, like what's the story you tell yourself about food? Like, I always make good decisions. I never snack at night. I just always take care of my body. I always eat food that's going to just make me feel good. Like really good, not like this false pleasure. Like how, or you're like, oh man, just sugar just calls my name and I just need it. And like when I'm driving in the car and I see like a Wendy's, that Frosty, next thing I know, I was just eating it. Just in the moment, I just felt so good. Or I can't even go to a grocery store without buying chocolate because you know me. So what is the story that you tell about yourself? So in this process, this is how we build our self-confidence. So we learn to trust ourselves. We are willing to feel any emotion, and emotions are literally just vibrations in our body. And then we start to retell the story we tell about ourselves. Yeah. So I like to have something special occasionally, right? So you can say, and this is what I teach my clients because we never want to be deprived. We can always have the treat. We can always have it. We just plan it from our prefrontal cortex. That's all. And you know what's really interesting that's starting to happen to me, which I am so surprised, and especially around Christmas because I planned some joy eats. I was actually sick. Like my body was like, what are you doing? This is not joyful. This is not good at all. I call it a joy eat, but there was several days, it actually happened twice. And I thought, oh, I guess this isn't the food that really does work for my body. So now the story I tell for myself is I don't really need the food that I thought I did. For a long time, I had apple crisp every Sunday. And I just realized, even talking right now, I haven't had apple crisp in a long time. And I haven't even planned any joy eats on Sunday for like 3 Sundays. Because it doesn't actually feel that good for me because of this like the way that I look at food and all that. It's not to say that I won't have, I mean, I still have desire for food and I still plan it. Yeah. So this is how we start gaining our self-confidence around food. So how do you satisfy the craving if the joy turns bad? So that's where you ask yourself, what was the feeling that I was hoping to get when I had the joy eat? Okay, so ask yourself that. So comfort, relaxed, excitement. Were those the feelings you wanted when you planned the joy eat and then it turned bad? So one of the things that happened for me around Christmas, and I think a lot of you can relate to this, is there are Christmas treats that we just have at Christmas, right? So there was a flavor. So one of the problems, Mary, is that we could have a memory of a flavor that we really like, and then when it turns out bad, and we're like, oh, so in the past, I thought that I really liked that flavor. In the past, I thought that really served me, but I now see that I've changed. So one of my clients, and she's on here, she normally, oh, I love this example. So for her birthday, she was like, oh, I'm going to plan a treat for my birthday. And she was going to go to the store and get the things. And she actually forgot to buy the treat for her birthday, the cupcake or whatever that was going to be. And by the time she got home, she realized, oh, I didn't buy that treat for herself. But what happened was she could have gone back to the store anytime. She has a car. She knows where all the stores are, and buy that treat. But when she got home and realized I didn't really need that treat, so she ended up that whole next week never going and getting that treat, because she actually likes the food that she does plan, and it actually serves her and fuels her in a much better way. So again, retelling the story. So even in that situation, we have this story that says on your birthday, you should eat a lot of sugary stuff. But really, that's not even true, because the whole celebration of the birthday is just to celebrate that you're just one more year on this earth. Okay. So does anyone have any questions about the 3 steps to a life that you want? Because this is what we're doing. We're deciding the kind of life that we want, and we're giving ourselves the opportunity to work towards it, to have the confidence to be like, oh, I could be a person that could have this kind of life. So for me, like, and another one of my clients is on here, she did not gain any weight at all during the holidays. And normally she would gain at least 10 pounds. And I could relate. That's how I used to be. It was like inevitable. It was just coming. I couldn't stop it. I was like a victim to the food, a victim to the parties, and a victim to all the overeating. It was out of my control. I didn't gain any weight over the holidays either. It's so fun. It's like, I don't even have to have that as really a worry for me now, because I've changed the way that I tell my story. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about any of these? I love having this interactive. I love being able to help all of you. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Does anyone want to get coaching on any of these things? So on the bottom of your screen, there is a little hand. There's a little hand there. So if you want coaching, if you want to ask any questions, I invite you to raise your hand and ask. You can ask anything. But for now, I'm going to just share my screen with you. And I'm going to just tell you a little bit more about how I help quilters lose weight and create the kind of life that they really want to have. So this is me back in 2018. I was about 200 pounds, and I'm 6 feet tall. So, and then this is me. I'm kind of sad that I gave this shirt away, because I think I've lost another 10 pounds or so since this picture. And so I have lost 50 pounds, just over 50 pounds without exercise or counting calories, and all by using the tools in my brain. So I have 3 different ways that I do this for helping people. The first thing I do is I teach people that weight loss science is simple. And then we talk about the emotions are the key to the universe. And then we create a future you who you love being. So I do this in 2 different ways. One is I have a one-on-one group, a one-on-one program. So I have one-on-one clients, I should say, and they hire me for 6 months, and we work closely together on seeing what's going on with their brains, why they haven't got the results that they want, and I help teach them the tools and work with them on creating this change. And so within that program, I have a group component where we take a deep dive every month, and they support each other and work together, and it's a lot of fun. So that is one thing that I do. And then I have my group program because I only have so many hours in a week, and my one-on-one program has been filled, and I actually have 2 people now on the waiting list, and it's very exciting. So, but I wanted to keep helping more and more quilters, so I developed a 12-week program. And so this 12-week program, I'm just going to give you some information about it. So so going on with that is diets don't work. They just don't work. And you can ask any questions you want in the chat, and I can answer any of them. So because diets don't work, part of it is we are giving food the job that it's not supposed to, it was never intended to have. So when we think that food is going to make us feel better, it does for momentarily, but it doesn't last long. And so we've been kind of abusing food. And so what I do is as a life coach, I help people think about their thinking. So here's our brain, and we have 2 parts to our brain. We have our lower brain. That is our survival brain. That served us really well when we didn't have houses, we didn't have security systems, we didn't have grocery stores, when we had to go and if we only ate if we killed something, or if we found a bunch of berries or something. So our lower brain helped us to survive in those conditions. But we now have grocery stores and houses, and things are fairly safe, other than now we're having a little bit of a pandemic, and hence the reason why most of the grocery stores were depleted of flour and sugar, because our human reaction was, we've got to bulk up. We've got to get more storage on us, because if there's a shortage, we're going to be in trouble, which was super interesting. So I help people understand what's going on in their brain and how we're wired and how we want to act instead. So how I teach people, I say weight loss is a byproduct of the work that we do, because we're literally connecting our brain with our body. So our brains are so amazing. We can have a thought, like a stressful thought, and what happens? Immediately, our brain releases cortisol, it releases hormones, and our heart starts beating, we start sweating, or we might have shortness of breath. That is how connected our brain and bodies are. But over the years of us cutting off our brain to our body, we haven't connected that. So a lot of women, and I don't know if this has happened to you, but all of a sudden you step on the scale and you're like, or you see a picture of yourself, kind of like the picture I showed of you when I was 200 pounds. And I was like, what happened to me? How did I get here? What was the thing? It's because I tried to shut off my brain, connecting it to my body. And I became so disconnected that I wasn't listening to my body. I wasn't in tune with my body. And now, since I've done this work, my goal was never to be 147 pounds. I was 164 when I got married, and I was very happy. In fact, when I was 170 pounds, I was like, this is amazing. But because I kept connecting my body and my brain, I just kept losing weight. And I was like, okay, I guess this is what my body likes to be. It's a completely different relationship and a completely different situation. So the other thing that I do with the work as a life coach is I explain how mindset works. So this is my 12-week program, and it will be starting again in January, on January 25th. And so the days to get into the program is on January 18th. So for the next couple of days or weeks, I have some really fun things planned. We haven't been able to have our fun guild meetings and parties. So I have a party on Monday the 18th. I'm going to have a party. There's going to be prizes. We actually are going to play some quilt games. When I was a guest speaker at a retreat, I did a trunk show and we actually did quilt bingo. It was really fun. So pretty sure we're going to play some quilt bingo, which is going to be really fun. So I will be sending out quilt bingo cards to you, to all those who register. That's why I need you to pre-register for these, because I will then send those to you. And then you can play the quilt bingo with me on Monday, the 18th. And there's going to be real prizes that I will send you in the mail. It's so fun. So my 18-week program goes like this, our 12-week programs. So I will send, if you're interested, I won't spend all the time reading all of these, but if you're interested in the sales page, it's on my website, and I will link it in the emails as well that are coming up. So what you can expect, you're going to nail down your eating without feeling deprived, understand why weight loss has been hard until now, create and start implementing your plan to eat with joy, experience mental clarity like you've never had before, and create the future life you want. So it's been really fun for me to work with Lisa Bonjean. A lot of you know her, and it's fun. She has to even update her pictures because she just keeps losing weight, and she and I are going to do a special training talking about the experience that she's had working with me. So the first section we talk about is weight loss science is simple. So weight loss companies want you to keep coming back and back and back. They do. And because they want you to keep spending lots of money. And so I actually help you understand about weight loss science and how it actually is simple. And so we spend 4 modules, the first 4 classes really delving into what that's about. So I talk about food science in the kitchen sink, creating your own protocol, because what's going to happen is when you follow a diet, it's somebody else telling you what to do all the time. But when you can create your very own protocol, you own it and it's yours. And I just teach you how to tweak it and make it effective for you. And then asset protection. So our greatest asset is our brain. We are the only humans that have only creatures on this earth that have a prefrontal cortex. So we want to be able to really understand what's going on in our brain and having that mind-body connection and learning I talk about the subtle psychological shift that will have a big impact on your relationship with food. And then we go into the next 4 lessons are all about emotions are the key to the universe. So it's actually very interesting. So trust, the first thing is we trust our knowledge about weight loss science. Second is to feel any emotion. So I really go into tools on how do you think about your thinking. And so I teach you actual tools, like the model is one of my favorite tools. And the higher and lower brain, we go more into that. We really go into emotions. There's several different kinds of emotions. There's emotions that serve us and emotions that don't. They're indulgent versus regular emotions. We also go really into like awareness, unconscious living, and conscious living. And then this is one of my favorite chapters. It's the triple P: perfectionism, procrastination, and people pleasing. That's a very powerful module. And then we talk a lot about, and I love this module. One of my clients in my group currently, she was making some really big decisions. And when she was able to go through this module and really spend time with it, she was able to make some very big decisions that are impacting her life. And she's so happy that she was able to have the courage to go through this. So really going into our future self. So this one, I just taught this module. It's about how we can accept ourselves for where we are right now. And then we go into goal creating, which is going to be next week. I'm really excited for my clients to be going through that. And then this is really going back to, you want to tell the story about yourself. That's where you're making the goal. And then we go back to learning how to trust ourselves. And so this program really does help us to have more and more self-confidence. So this program will start on January 25th. And so you're going to have, what it looks like is that you're going to learn with me interactively. You get an amazing workbook. It's beautifully designed, and worksheets. So for that 12 weeks, it's $2,000. But as a bonus, because who doesn't love bonuses? So I teach every Monday interactively. So I teach live, so you can put your hand up, you can ask questions. It's all very interactive. Then on Wednesdays, we have a coaching call. So it's an open coaching. Anyone can get coached. Anyone can, and it's really powerful to watch other people getting coached. So that's a value of $3,000. That's included. And then we belong to a private Facebook group where you have other quilters, women that are struggling with the same things as you, and you can be on there, support each other, and it is a really beautiful place. And I really value that element of it, because so much of weight loss is you feel very, there's a lot of shame. You feel like broken. And so when you know there's other people that are going through what you're going through, it feels really wonderful. Another bonus is that I will have monthly calls. Whenever anyone works with me, they just get to be on a monthly call, open call. So, and that will just keep going. So, so that's another amazing bonus. And then this is kind of a fun thing to do. I actually am making a mini quilt. So I made a real quilt, like a big quilt. I shouldn't say real quilt. They're all real. And I'm actually quilting it right now because I had so for every person that signed, I put the square. But this time I'm going to do a mini quilt, and because I'm a little bit obsessed with Dresden's, and it's going to be very cute. So for everyone that signs up, a Dresden goes on my wall. I'm going to be cutting it out tonight. And then I'm going to have a draw, and I'm going to custom quilt it, and then you have the opportunity. So it's just kind of a fun quilting, because you can't be a life coach for quilters without a quilting prize at the end. So then you'll get something handmade by me. So you pay $2,000 and you get all these bonuses for $12,000, and it's at $2,000. It's an amazing price. So I want you to think about, what would you create in your life if you went through this process? If you knew that you could lose weight consistently. Oh, and I forgot, in this program, I teach how to lose 2 pounds a week. So I go through that process that I teach my one-on-one clients as well. So what would you create for yourself? Isn't that fun? So that is opening now. So if you want to get a 20-minute consult with me, I have a Calendly link. And if you don't know where that is and you're having struggle finding it, just DM me. I have all the slots, and I can send you the link and you can book it, or we could just book. I have 2 openings this afternoon. I have a 3:20 and a 3:40 open. So that one is already taken. So if you did want to meet with me this afternoon and get your spot, that would be really fun to meet you. And I'm Pacific time. So just asking yourself, what would you create for yourself if you had these results? So we have about 5 minutes. Does anyone have any questions that they want to ask about what it would be like to work with me, or any questions about this process of building your self-confidence, of really how do you create the life that you really want? So one of the questions is how many women are in the group? I'm going to cap the group at 30. I used to be a school teacher, and my classroom, I would have 25 to 30 kids in a class. So my first round, we had it at 20, and that was a great number. But this next round, I'm going to cap it at 30. And I already have people who have saved their money and they have already paid. They're so excited, and it hadn't even officially been opened yet. So I would love for you to join. It would be really, yeah. Any other questions? When I do so what I've done with the modules, because they're quite extensive, is I really like to, I will give you the module the week before it starts. I don't want to give it to you all at once because I don't want to overwhelm you. Each module is approximately 15 to 20 pages. And if you go a little bit too far in advance, you could get the tendency to feel overwhelmed. So I like to just, I have a virtual assistant. She's amazing. And she's really good at remembering how to do all of that. And so she releases the modules. And another question is, where is the group? So we have a private Facebook group. And so all the communication, the challenges, everything, they're all on there. All right. Any other questions that you have? Yeah, tell your friends. Totally. I would love, sharing is caring. And I know a lot of quilters, we do spend a lot of time sitting. We do spend a lot of time piecing and doing all sorts of things sedentary. And so I would love you to share my link, my information with your friends. My website is darathomason.com. And I do have a really fun lead magnet. It will be coming up probably in 3 days. Lead magnet is just, in the summer, I did 2 5-day trainings, and they were amazing. And so my web designer is going to be putting those up. So that is on my list of things to do this afternoon, to send the video. So when I did it with Lisa Bonjean and having people being coached, and then I have a 6-day menu plan. I have recommended foods to eat, and it's amazing. So if you're interested in that and you're not on my website, my email, you can just go there right now. Right now I have, I also have a YouTube channel. And so when I was a professional long armor, I started my YouTube channel for how to load a long arm and lots of different support. But I also have all of my 6-day free trainings, the 6 series I did over holidays to prepare for the COVID Christmas. And there's a lot of really good information there. So if you want to get some more information, you can go to my YouTube channel. All right. It's so fun to have all of you here on the call. I love you all for being here, and to take care of yourself and to prioritize yourself, your mental health, your physical health. The more you can connect your brain to your body, the more success you're going to have. If you want to meet with me about the course, I would love to. And if you do have those, I have 3:20 and 3:40 available Pacific time. If you want to do that, you can just direct message me on email. It's all good. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.